Asthma. You almost certainly know someone who has it, or hey, maybe you have it yourself. But the science behind this super common condition, it has gone through an absolutely radical transformation. Today, we're going to unravel the basic immunology of asthma and find out why the whole one-size-fits-all idea is officially out the window. You ever notice that? How two people can both have asthma, but their experiences are worlds apart. One person might have had mild, allergy-driven symptoms since they were a kid, while someone else gets hit with severe asthma as an adult for no obvious reason. Well, that isn't random. It's actually the critical clue that has unlocked the secrets of the disease. For the longest time, we treated asthma like it was just one single thing. But now we see it for what it is, a syndrome that's really just an umbrella term for a whole collection of different diseases that just happen to have similar symptoms. And let me tell you, this shift is a total game changer. It's moving us away from that one-size-fits-all approach and into the world of precision medicine, tailored to you. So let's start by digging into this new perspective. We really need to get past that old, oversimplified view and understand what's really going on inside the airways. Okay, first, the basics. At its core, asthma is defined by these classic symptoms, right? The coughing, the wheezing, that feeling of tightness in your chest. They're all caused by this chronic inflammation in your airways, which leads to extra mucus and the muscles around the airways squeezing tight. This is the common experience that puts everyone under that asthma umbrella. But here's where it gets really interesting. There's a key word we need to talk about: endotype. It's not just about the symptoms you can see on the outside. It's about the specific biological pathway causing the inflammation on the inside. Think of it like this. It's the difference between knowing your car won't start and knowing if it's a dead battery or a busted engine. Understanding your endotype is everything. Okay, let's get into our first and by far most common endotype. This is the one most of us think of when we hear the word asthma. It's called type 2 high asthma, and it accounts for about half of all cases. So, what does this type 2 high asthma look like? Well, it has a really clear profile. It usually kicks off in childhood. It's almost always linked to allergies, things like pollen and dust mites, and under the microscope, you see high levels of a specific immune cell called an eosinophil. Crucially, this is the type of asthma that usually responds pretty well to those standard inhalers with corticosteroids. So how does this whole chain reaction happen? I want you to picture a full-on security breach in your airways. First, a trigger, like a tiny particle of dust, breaks through the cell wall. That immediately sounds the alarm. The cells release these signals called alarmins. This alarm call mobilizes specialized immune cells, which then launch the attack, unleashing this flood of molecules called cytokines that call in the eosinophils. And it's these eosinophils that really start causing all the trouble. So these eosinophils, what are they? Think of them as the immune system's first responders. They're packed with these toxic proteins, and in someone with type 2 high asthma, they just flood the airways and start releasing them, causing massive inflammation, damaging tissue, and kicking off all those classic symptoms. They're the key soldiers in this fight. But wait a minute, that only covers about half the people with asthma. So what is going on with the other half? Well, this brings us to the second major category, and frankly, it's a lot more mysterious: type 2 low asthma. And the profile for type 2 low asthma is so different, it's striking. It often develops in adulthood, we call it late onset. It has very little, if anything, to do with allergies, and we often see it in people who also have obesity. The main immune cell here isn't the eosinophil, it's the neutrophil. And this is critical. It often doesn't respond well at all to those standard corticosteroid treatments. Neutrophils are another kind of immune first responder, but they just operate differently. And while we know they show up in big numbers in type 2 low asthma, scientists are still debating their exact role. Like, are they causing the inflammation, or are they just showing up because of it? Unraveling that mystery is a huge area of research right now. And this chart just lays it all out side by side. It's so clear, right? They're almost mirror images of each other. Eosinophils versus neutrophils, childhood onset versus adulthood, strong allergy link versus basically none, and a good response to steroids versus a poor one. This is exactly why a single treatment approach just can't work for everybody. Okay, so we've covered the underlying types. Now let's talk about something every single person with asthma is familiar with: the flare-up. The exacerbation. Now get this, because this is a really surprising fact for a lot of people. While we always think of pollen or dust triggering asthma attacks, the single biggest driver of those really severe flare-ups, the ones that land people in the hospital, is actually the common cold, caused by things like rhinovirus. So why? What is going on here? Well, it turns out that in people with asthma, especially the type 2 high kind, the immune system's wiring is just a little off. Their bodies often don't produce enough of a key antiviral signal called type 1 interferon. In fact, high levels of that main allergy antibody, IgE, can actively block the cells that are supposed to make these interferons. And the result? The virus can copy itself more easily, which causes more damage and triggers a way more severe inflammatory response. Now, this incredibly detailed understanding of all these different immune pathways, it isn't just for textbooks. This has kicked off a revolutionary new era of treatments that can target the disease right at its molecular source. So let's go back to our friend, type 2 high asthma. We know the eosinophils are the big problem, but what's calling them into the lungs in the first place? It's a specific signaling molecule, a cytokine, called IL-5. In these patients, that IL-5 signal is basically stuck in the on position, just constantly screaming for more and more eosinophils to join the party. So the brilliant idea was, what if you could just cut that phone line? That is exactly what these new biologic drugs do. They are these incredibly engineered antibodies that either soak up all the extra IL-5 or they block the receptor it's trying to talk to. Either way, the signal is silenced, and the eosinophils never get the call to come in. And this strategy, this kind of molecular sniper rifle approach, isn't just limited to IL-5. Other biologic drugs can block IgE, that central allergy antibody, or they can go after other key signals that are responsible for all that mucus. It's a targeted strike against the specific part of the immune system that's gone rogue. But here is maybe the most exciting part. Remember those alarmins we talked about? The signals that kick off the entire cascade? Well, there's a new drug that targets one of them, way up at the top of the chain of command. And because it's so high up, blocking it seems to work in both type 2 high and type 2 low patients. This is a potential breakthrough for a way broader group of people with asthma, and it is a really, really big deal. So after all that, what is the big takeaway? It's that just saying you have asthma isn't really enough anymore. The future of care, and really the key to having better conversations with your doctor, is all about figuring out your specific endotype so you can get a treatment that targets the real root of your disease. And this all brings us to a final, really exciting question. As our picture of these endotypes gets even more detailed, especially for that mysterious type 2 low asthma, you have to wonder, what will the next generation of truly personalized asthma treatments look like? The future of asthma care is literally being written as we speak, and the possibilities are just starting to unfold.